Hey everybody, it's been a small while, but I'm back and ready to do another broadcast. Um, this time I'm talking about Alex Jones and the demise of his show InfoWars. Hopefully, we're going to be looking at more people who do podcasts such as his, uh, facing charges pressed against them, and the demise of their shows. We really need to have some kind of justice being done for all these shooting victims. You know, this kind of scandal, conspiracy theory that has been broadcasted for quite a while has been expressed time and time again, but with very little to zero evidence backing up their claims. And don't get me wrong, there's some that look a little sketchy and all this stuff, but one or two little photographs doesn't really constitute as evidence. It just leads to skepticism, and that's about it. So this all, but we're talking about Alex Jones and people like him who are not just throwing out the skepticism and saying you all decide. These guys are going as far as demonizing the victims and just downright in denial of the actual occurrence, the actual incident, and they're preaching hate to everybody and making it seem like it's a good thing, a God-willing thing to be resented to, the people of those incidences, those shooting incidences, as far back as Sandy Hook. Sorry for the constant drinking. It's just Texas and it's hot down here. And for the record, it's just water. Now, here's the thing concerning that, which goes straight to gun regulations. Why? Because one of the reasons why they do it's a fake, it's a setup, it's a hoax, it's a government setup, is because they go straight to the government and the Bill of Rights and gun rights to own guns and all this stuff. That's part of the preachings that they do. In which case, I gotta say, that's what you all say. Okay? Chris's comments is, when the hell are you ever gonna change your quotes? Because this is what you've been saying since Sandy Hook. That it was a hoax, it's a political gist, it's this, it's that. In the meantime, from as far back as then, there's been no president, there's been no administration, there's been no touching the Second Amendment, there's been no gun removals, there's barely gun regulations that are in effect. And it's the same horse crap story that you've been preaching to us this entire time. It's all a government conspiracy. It's a hoax. Well, what is it? Is it a hoax or a government conspiracy? It was planned. Okay, so now it's planned. Then how is it a hoax? You guys are just, making stuff up, and you're trying to hit it throughout all these different angles. And yet at the same time, you're saying all this doomsday shit, and none of that is happening. None of it. You always say that. And because it's false, the way it's now proven to be false through this Alex Jones situation, honestly, I believe every single podcaster that jumps on that bandwagon, who can't provide any kind of physical evidence to prove his case otherwise, should face the same punishments as Alex Jones. Because again, it's one thing when you're being an internet influencer. It's another thing when you're trying to brainwash people and preach hate to everybody and join on the bandwagon of creating more problems and demonizing people, victims, to top it all off. It's a huge difference. It's a huge difference between stating what you know and letting everybody just make their own decisions. There's a huge difference between that and the huge difference of what's going on with Alex Jones and everybody like him, preaching hate, giving orders, telling them what not to and what to believe. Okay, huge difference. So, this guy, Alex Jones, he's lost everything. I hope every podcaster that jumped into that same bandwagon loses everything. It's only right, it's only justified. And as far as gun regulations go, or gun removals or whatever, I'm not so much for gun removals, because a gun can be made out of a pipe. Okay? A pipe and a cap. A blast cap. Okay? That's not a problem with me. Regulations, however, is the deregulations is. Okay? And everybody say, well, you can have regulations, but it'll do more harm to people because criminals don't need regulations to get a gun. You guys keep saying that all the time, and yet all these mass shooters are getting guns legally. You know? These mass shooters, we kind of wish they would get, it would be sort of completely understandable if they got it through the underground. But they're not getting it through the underground. They're getting it right out of, Walmart, or off of a catalog, off of a website that you can order one from. Huge difference. Huge difference between the two. And speaking of regulations, okay, true, going through the underground can lead you to getting stuff like, back in the 90s and the 80s, some AK-47s. Those were big at the time, okay? Getting the 9mm Beretta was pretty big at the time. In the old days, when I was younger, it was more revolvers, okay? There's more revolvers, 6-shooters, 8-shooters. One of the big dogs that we used to have was the, oh gosh, I forgot, 38 Special, okay? That was considered the baddest of the baddest back when I was a little kid, okay? The 90s came and everybody started getting a whole lot more sophisticated, more upgraded weaponry. And it's true, there was a lot of stuff that was removed from there through anti-gun regulations, except for pistols, which pistols wound up becoming more sophisticated because pistols were supposed to be the only home defense thing. It wasn't a gangster thing, but gangsters wound up using them and taking total advantage of that. Since that time, for some oddball reason, instead of tackling the issue again, our government just threw everything out the window, including our state's governments, like here in the Lone Star State, where there's very little to zero regulations. Okay? And now, we, the regular people, the ordinary people, are having to hear this same babbling bull crap, even here in Texas, where they're completely protected by the law, but still pursued and pertain. Insist to bitch and gripe and complain. That's what I meant to say. They're still insistent on bitching and griping and complaining. You got a bunch of people gathering guns legally and legally killing a lot of people, and they still bitch and gripe and complain. Now revert that back to these podcasters. What has it got to do with the podcasters? Well, bitching, griping, and complaining is what these particular podcasters are doing. Okay? Which leads me all the way back to what I'm saying. Alex Jones and podcasters like him need to face these serious punishments. This whole demonizing victims is just plain wrong. This whole showing favor for deregulation on our firearms is just wrong. The whole government accusation, that's incredibly wrong. And yeah, legal, there should be legal ramifications for this. There should be fines, penalties, fees, reparations, and most importantly, a restriction to the podcasters to never be able to preach this kind of hate again, because that is what we're talking about. Hate preachings. So, Yeah, I mean, everybody that is on the same bandwagon as Alex Jones technically should just be, arrested, taken to court, fined and feed, and just have everything removed, especially through the courts and fees. Why? Because for some oddball reason, well, not some oddball reason, we all know why. The only time anybody really gets hurt is at the wallet. Okay? You hit these people financially and they're jacked up, they're messed up, they're ruined. And that's a good thing, especially when you got hate preaching people that are influencers, especially here on the internet, which is a total abuse of using the internet, no differently than anybody with an actual swastika flag right behind them on the wall. It's no different. And it's time to make sure that legally we can put differentiations in there to know who's doing good with this influencing internet influence industry and who's doing bad with the influence industry, and knock out those bad people. Every time. Hit them. Every time. They're making these horrible accusations. They're not providing any physical evidence. They're preaching hate, which is leading to conspiracies that is influencing other people to hate. And then you get these wacko douchebags coming out shooting up places for whatever reason. And I say for whatever reason because most people, not all of them, can be as focused as Tim McVeigh. I'm going to blast this building because it's a government building and the government is evil. Okay? The guy who was taught that just a few years back said, I'm going to knock out these gays at a club. Gays at a club's got nothing to do with the government. But there he was with that same hate-taught preachings instilled in his mind. Okay? And there he was shooting up the nightclub. It's just that whacked. But that's how whacked hate actually is. We all know this. Well, we're supposed to all know this. I guess because I was born in the 70s, the post-hippie era, that, all of these rules of thumb of peace, love, happiness was instilled in me in my mind. I should still be stuck in the 1970s like an ordinary old guy. But unfortunately, life keeps pulling the rug from underneath me, and I wind up having to get into focus of what's actually going on in today's times. I'm 51. I'm nowhere near the age of retirement. Like, I'm close, but I'm nowhere near at the status to where I could be retired come the age of retirement. Okay? Life has me mingling with the younger generations and today's people. And today's people, for the most part, still has that I don't give a what attitude. But I'm still looking at a lot of people suffering things of influence that have them resorting back to the I don't give a what mentality. Okay? And that is not just as bad, but it's very concerning. Okay? It's as concerning as those who are listening to the hate preachers on internet influence podcasts. And I'm glad he's down. I'm glad he's down and out for the 10 count. I'm glad that the government bitch slapped him. And I hope the government bitch slappeth. Yes. I hope the law in particular bitch slaps these hate preaching podcasters every time. I hope it's a continuous thing. I hope it's another form of law. I hope it's another form to see in another form of detective novels. I'm a cop and I hunt down internet influencers that preach hate that makes them want to get a gun and shoot people. I might actually watch that. But yeah, that I honestly hope that this new era of stuff, and I on a lighter note, I still have big props to give to these kids. You know, everything is stacked against them. I know to a certain extent because I'm starting all over again after losing everything through the pandemic. But I was on top of my own world before that happened. If I could have controlled my spending, I would still be doing okay. I'd be floating on okay. But, you know, I was, you know, it was pre 2020 where money was still being complained about, spending rather, by economic people, which was still nowhere near the 1990s, you know, pre 9/11, before inflation started kicking up again, before inflation started to kick up in the early 2000s. Okay, before that, in the 1990s, I mean, there were serious posts on the radio, on later on the internet. I didn't have internet throughout the 90s, so I didn't know how much of it was going on. In fact, there was no such thing as a smartphone back then either. You had a flip phone, you know, and there was a wide variety of them. But yeah, the big thing about that was how little they can make those phones, you know. But yeah, the spending was just going crazy throughout the 1990s. There was still warning signs of it in the 2000s, all the way up to the 2010s, where everything started to mellow out a lot. But then once 2020 hit, you know, or the pandemic hit, you know, inflation skyrocketed, and now everybody's just sort of watching what they're spending and all this good stuff. I'm one of the ones that lost everything, and I'm starting all over. I'm working as a, you know, delivery driver with this van that I bought, and for $1,500, and I'm slowly making repairs, and I'm slowly getting back on my feet, and I'm slowly, you know, starting all over again. And I'm listening to you youngsters. I'm listening to the youngs. I'm listening to people my age. And I'm listening to all sorts of opinions where these kids are just lazy bitches. But you listen to the kids, they're not lazy. They're just having to deal with quiet firing and quiet quitting situations. Okay? These kids are all acting like criminals. Well, not really. They just don't have jobs or anything to keep them occupied. So they're doing nothing but running wild the way you want them to. Generation X was the best. Dude, I'm Gen X, and I can pretty much see the bullshit that my generation is doing. My generation is in the 50s right now, 50s and 60s right now, and they're the ones running the country. They're the ones owning the businesses, okay? And there's a lot of corruption with the government to the businesses. There's a lot of bribes and all this good stuff, and corruption and payoffs, and quiet firing and quiet quitting. You go through a lot of my channels where I'm talking about immigrants, non-immigrants, and I'm giving you examples of, well, how about Packers, for one? You know, it's not only a company that used minors dangerously cleaning slaughterhouse equipment without any kind of protection, you know, causing injuries and one death. You know, but it's all done by people my age, Gen X age. You know, you can't be spitting on the kids. The kids are the ones that are suffering. Here's another example. In California, where businesses have to pay their fair share of taxes now, or the minimum wage was raised or something like that. Businesses were closing down. They were surprise firing their employees. All those employees are today's generations. They're in their early 20s, their late teens. And they were being fired and let go by business owners that don't want to pay their fair share of taxes. They'd rather close down their shop. Who are my age? Gen X age. So yeah, I mean, these people are all under the same influence. What has that got to do with Alex Jones? Well, all of these guys that are my age and all this stuff, And anybody younger that's listening to people my age, they're all following people like Alex Jones. They're all following people like Joe Rogan. They're all following people like, the Young Turks. Young Turks, real quick to expose all the corruption in America. But any chance of bitching about the Jews in Israel, they're on top of it. They're on top of it. It's the Jews that are slaughtering everybody, despite the fact that they didn't start the war in October of last year. Okay, they're the ones that are paying. This is the big one. This is the reason. That's the thing that got me stopped listening to the Young Turks. Okay, there's Jews paying the Palestinians here in America to riot and rally and riot and destroy and all this stuff. Okay, first, that's just downright stupid. Second, what does that say about the Palestinians who are taking the bribes? Okay, this Young Turks people are Gen X and earlier. Okay, they're my age and earlier, and they're trying to tell you this garbage of hate. Okay, Alex Jones, the Young Turks, you gotta take a step back and look at what they're saying. You gotta stop believing that just because they're Gen X, that they're gonna be there for you. That their words are there for you, because it's pretty obvious that their words are selfish and greed based and hate inspired. This is what this Gen Xer is seeing. This Gen X that lost everything and is not living off of a pension and is not going off of unemployment or retirement of any sort. I'm not cashing in my Social Security or any kind of crap like that. I don't even think I got Social Security anymore. I think it got stolen by some dentist. But that's a different subject at a different time. The thing is that I'm starting over and I'm working amongst everybody out there. And I'm listening to the young. I'm listening to people my age. I'm listening to the elderly. And I'm gathering all of this up right now to take a step back and look at it and then relay all of this to you. Okay? It's good that Alex Jones lost everything. Hopefully he never gets to influence anybody ever again. It'd be good if podcasters that jumped on the same bandwagon as Alex Jones lose everything and hopefully get restricted to never influence anybody ever again. Okay? It's hopeful that organizations like the Young Turks get penalized for their anti-Jew hate that they're constantly spewing, but they're saying, look, I'm not prejudiced, but, okay, we in Texas hear that bullshit a lot. Okay, we down here in the South, that comes with you already know what's going on. It doesn't even matter what the subject is. You know it's going to be a bigoted remark. Okay? I have to make myself a rude ass son of a bitch within the confines of the policies of the work environment with that guy that says, I'm no racist, but the black rap music and all the ooga booga rap music. Okay, I have to be rude to that person to make sure that he and I don't work together. Okay? Because that little remark, I have to do that in order to get them away from me. And now flip the script back to, flip the viewpoint back to the Young Turks, where they're all saying, look, I'm not a racist. I'm not a racist. I'm not anti-Semite. But the Jews are doing this. Okay? That kind of crap is what I'm talking about. And the only good thing to say about this is that at least you could change the channel. The guys around the work break room water cooler is a totally different story. You have to wait for key words to be said, and preferably somebody, another employee who heard that conversation, then you get to report that person, So it's a little different for us. It's a little different for them. This thing with Alex Jones and podcasters like them who preach this hate, it's good that they got that, because we can't report to some supervisor, some kind of society supervisor, you know, we can't report them to that. It has to be done through the law. They has to go to court. He has to go through the thing. He has to be judged by a jury of his peers. Okay? That's the policy. It's a good thing that this happened. And it'll be better if the law can convert itself to always stay on top of that. Not so much restrict. Just go after the ones that are preaching hate. Okay? Not so much tell people what they can or cannot say. Just the ones that are trying to influence everybody else to do the horrible things that they're promoting or talking about. Okay? I'm not saying certain words. There are certain words you shouldn't say. The N word, 2 F words, the GD word, the MF word, you know. Obviously, we can't say those. It's a good thing that's regulated. But we can obviously kick it up a notch when it comes to those who are preaching hate. It only makes sense that we can do that. And I hope that someday society actually agrees to it and confides to it and bears down on it, because right now there is no such thing. I can actually call Alex rhymes with Whitler. Okay, I can actually call the Young Turks, some kind of a Middle Eastern based name, anti-Semitic Middle Eastern derogatory word, or Eastern Europe, Far East Europe, whatever, all of these so-called non-prejudice that are quick to jump on anything Jew. Okay. But I'd rather just point out their actions. Okay. I'd rather just point out their actions. And I'm not going to tell you not to look at this or look at that or whatever. I'm just going to point out what I see. Okay? I'm just going to point out what's going on. Because that's really what an influencer does. Okay? So I'm taking up a half an hour. I hope y'all are doing well. I hope that you're taking care of yourselves. The weekend is here. Happy Saturday by the time of this broadcasting. I hope you guys keep taking care of yourselves. Keep taking care of each other. Back to the subject of gunmen and public places. Remember, try to look for hiding places, even if there's no sign of a gunman. Just keep it bear in mind. Keep it in the back of your mind. Places to hide. Most of the time, because shooters don't usually shoot at things that aren't people, and they usually can't shoot people if they can't see them. Y'all take care. Y'all take it easy. This is Chris with Chris's Comments, signing out.